Did you feel better off following the Orton statement after 13 years of a Tory government? No, me neither. Looking at the headlines in the Mail and Express, you'd think Jeremy Hunt had given us some sort of massive tax break, but the reality was they just knocked 2% off national insurance. And the fact is, because it's based on percentage, the less you earn, the less you benefit. The Institute for Fiscal Studies has revealed that overall, on average, for every £4 they've taken previously, they've given back just £1. They said as an example that a nurse would get an extra £500 a year. So let's break that down. £500 divided by 52 weeks is £9.61 a week. Knock off tax at 20%, and that means an extra £7.69 a week. Break out the champagne. This means they can buy a couple of coffees a week to drink, while they sit down to work out where the extra hundreds of pounds a month for mortgage is coming from, the extra 17% food bill over the last year, or the additional energy rise of £94 per month from January due to the increase in the energy cap. And by freezing the tax allowance, they've ensured that inflation has eaten into it even more, so it's actually totally wiped out anyway. There was a positive when the government didn't scrap inheritance tax, but it's generally accepted that even these greedy bastards realised that might be a step too far in the middle of the cost of living crisis. To be fair, though, they did raise the national living wage by £1.2 per hour, although that will be paid by employers, not the government, and it will be passed on to consumers in the form of price rises. So why are they able to be this generous with other people's money? Well, the Chancellor said it was due to their good fiscal management that had reduced inflation. Hold on a sec. Didn't you say the increase in inflation was the fault of the Bank of England? So how come you're taking credit for it coming down? It was generally accepted that inflation would fall anyway without intervention due to the drop in energy prices, among other things. And it was the Bank of England that raised interests to slow inflation. So the government's contribution has been a grand total of fuck all. But headline inflation hasn't gone away. It's still running at around 4%, double the Bank of England's target, meaning interest rates that govern people's mortgages are unlikely to drop anytime soon. And food inflation is still over 10 pence to 10%. But they have said they're looking to cut costs by making sick and disabled people work. I've seen firsthand the stress caused by having a DWP assessment, so I can't imagine what it will feel like when someone who's medically untrained can decide if you're fit for work, and that decision could result in your medicines being withdrawn. Government figures show an estimated 6.4 billion paid out due to benefit fraud and government error in 22 to 23, whereas tax evasion, which is illegally not paying tax, cost 4.7 billion. But tax avoidance, using loopholes like offshore accounts, costs 35.8 billion. But they don't chase the tax dodgers because they're doing it. Look at Rishi himself and his wife's previous non-dom status, or Jeremy Hunt and his wife, who used a company they owned to buy 7 luxury flats in Southampton using a scheme where buying more than 6 properties avoids stamp duty, saving them £100,000. They rent the flats out and they've wasted no time increasing the rent on them by 18%. If you care how the government basically steals money from you to fund them and their friends' lifestyles, why not subscribe now? Really helps small channels like this. And don't forget to turn on the notifications.